Hi everyone, I'm Gelo Gonzales, Senior Multimedia Reporter at Rappler, and welcome to this Ask Me Anything on Pax Silica. Today we're looking at one of the Philippines' biggest technology and industrial policy debates. What could Pax Silica mean for jobs, technology, energy, the environment, and our communities? And does it truly put the Philippines on a path toward industrialization? Joining me are lawyer Carlo Ybanez, who supports Philippine participation with safeguards, and Luisa Gabriela of the nonprofit organization IBON Foundation, who has raised concerns about the initiative and its implications for Philippine development and sovereignty. Let's get into it. So, hi guys.
Hello, Gelo.
Welcome to Rappler. And yun, hello.
Thank you.
Thank you for having
Thank you
us.
for having us here.
So yun, this has been a very heated conversation
Yeah.
online.
Correct, yeah.
So it's great that we're able to invite you guys to hear about both sides of the coin.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me ask you, what do you each believe Pax Silica actually is, and what do you think the public most misunderstands or understands about it? I think we'll go with Carlo first.
Yes,
Okay.
go ahead.
Well, what public most does not understand, because there is actually little information about Pax Silica going out there. So there are whispers and there are actually things that are being said out there, but the exact details of Pax Silica is not very known. You'll be surprised that when I talk to some people, they actually don't know what Pax Silica is about. Well, the first thing that has to be clarified, I think, in the legal perspective, no, because I'm a lawyer, and the legal perspective is actually my number one concern. No, Pax Silica in itself is not yet a treaty. So this is what most people are not aware of. It's not yet a treaty. It's just a declaration. So a treaty, before it becomes binding on the Philippines, it has to go through a process, and the most important process is that it has to be ratified by the Senate. So we are not yet there. Pax Silica, what was signed or what was declared, is just a declaration that we are joining the initiative of Pax Silica. But with respect to the laws, with respect to the contracts, with respect to the implication, we are not yet there.
So parang we're still at the parang lower steps. We're going through there, we're getting there.
Yes.
But then the discussion is already that heated.
Yes,
right?
correct. So we have not laid down all the details because, like I said, treaty has to go to Senate, and this has the effect of laws.
Yeah.
So if it has the effect of laws, it has to be followed. No, we are not yet there. We are not yet. There are no details yet, or what is actually being implemented, or what will become a treaty later on.
And right now, there are already calls for hearing for this, right? From the Makabayan Bloc in
Correct.
Congress, and then there's also going to be a hearing in the Senate.
I think there has to be. There has to be a hearing on this, because this is a very, very important issue that would affect the entire Philippines.
Right. Okay, Luisa, give us a piece of your mind.
Yes, okay. So I think in order for us to really understand what Pax Silica is about, we have to trace it all the way back to when the declaration started. The US, along with Japan and its initial signatories, they had the Pax Silica Declaration, December 11, 2025. This declaration is specifically to have a stronger semiconductor supply chain across the globe. This directly competes with China's global presence in the semiconductor industry. And the goal of the Pax Silica initiative is to have the supply chain across the world instead of just monopolized by one country. Now, that is Pax Silica in the broad sense. What is Pax Silica in the Philippines naman? For us, that's what the usual keywords that everyone is talking about, the 1,620 hectares of land in New Clark City, where we will be having these quote-unquote advanced manufacturing. And I think this is what everyone commonly thinks of when they hear Pax Silica. It's these very glamorous promises of advanced manufacturing. We'll have jobs. We'll have tech transfers. We'll be AI native, which sounds very promising at first. And I think in the supply chain, it really, or US at least, is trying to tell us that you'll go higher up in the value chain of semiconductors because we've already had a history with semiconductors.
Yeah, that's kind of one of the promises that's being offered to the Philippines right now.
Yep.
Yeah.
But again, there are apprehensions because of how you described it is like, okay, we have like a superpower here with the US.
Yeah.
And then, what they want is to be able to compete with China in terms of like, because China is controlling in control of the supply chain of the minerals. Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
But then you bring it back down to the local level, and it might affect the communities.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where some of the tension is coming from, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I saw your post,
Yes.
your Facebook post, right? And one of the things you mentioned there is that you made a comparison to the nuclear power
Correct. Yeah.
project in Bataan, and I think a few others, right? You mentioned
Yeah.
a few other
Even with electricity and with fire.
Yes, yes. Okay, so talk to us about that and how you correlated that with Pax Silica.
Okay, because I specifically remember the Bataan power plant issue. This was a time when I was early in college, and everyone was saying about the Bataan nuclear power plant was that everyone was seeing the negative about it. It's dangerous. It's that's the main argument, that it's very dangerous now. So during that time, during conversations, I specifically remember that this is actually, for me, I really felt that was the wrong way to look at it, because this for me is progress. And like I said, I even related this with electricity, because before electricity, people were afraid of electricity before. Because it was very dangerous when it came out. And it was very dangerous because there was fires everywhere. But for me, just if there were safety measures, and we experienced that, electricity now no one would say that electricity is dangerous, and could you imagine your life without electricity right now? And I felt that would have happened if we had allowed nuclear energy. So we are one of the countries who do not have nuclear energy. And although here in Pax Silica, the issue is not actually safety, but there are a lot of issues, but the same thing that I realized, people are looking at the negative. So if we can find a middle ground, we participate in Pax Silica, but we find the measures that would make all these issues go away. We find a middle ground, not just for safety, but for example, the issues on our territorial sovereignty, stuff like that. I believe there's a way to participate in Pax Silica without having to sacrifice all those things that we are talking about.
Basically, what you're saying is there might be a way for us to go into this
There is.
with the proper safeguards.
There is, yes.
To kind of para ma-address the concerns that you at IBON Foundation have been seeing. So, ayun, given this position, how do you see your side moving towards that middle ground?
Okay.
Yun.
I think one of the major concerns we do have at IBON is that Pax Silica, much like the US's other projects and investments with the Philippines, did not truly industrialize the Philippines. Why? Because, yun nga, since we have attorney with us here, isa sa mga natatangi sa mga free trade agreements and other projects that we've had with the US are these specific bans on performance requirements. So performance requirements, ito yung mga requirements ng mga na in-impose sa mga foreign investors by the host countries na, oy, dapat may ma-achieve ka na certain level of beneficial economic progress here sa amin.
Parang may metrics.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, exactly. But if we look at some of the agreements we have here in the Philippines, for example, yung Philippine-Japan Economic Partnership Agreement, there's a specific ban on the a prohibition on performance requirements in Article 93, where it specifically states na neither party could has or can impose a hiring given level of nationals to transfer technology. So really, it's very evident na walang magiging tech transfer with Pax Silica. And without that tech transfer, it erodes the promise of going up the value chain, giving or upskilling the talents of Filipinos, really cultivating our economy and our industry. And really, when we look at these investments and the plans of the US, it's really to mine more in the Philippines to get our minerals. There's this critical minerals ministerial where there are already 27 memorandums of understanding across the globe. And pati na rin yung Pax Silica Fund where 250 million US dollars or equivalent to about 15.4 billion Philippine peso of foreign assistance will go specifically into critical minerals extraction, processing, and even the infrastructure needed for this. So it's very glaring. And you already see what Pax Silica is already about. Yun pa rin yung pinaka-focus niya as of the moment, really critical minerals. That being said, what the Philippines needs is investments that make us use our own resources for our own industrialization. Hindi lang simple yung kukunin mo yung resources namin, you pay a specific price for it, pero hindi rin tayo yung makikinabang. That's what we believe at IBON.
Yeah, well,
from a legal perspective.
Well, I actually have to agree. That if this should push through, I also believe that tech transfer should also be one of the major conditions here, and also skills development. So our own people, the Philippines, should also be taught how to produce this AI technology. No, so hindi pwedeng solohin lang ng US or anybody yung technology. There has to be transfer. And we should benefit from the technology that is being developed but in our country.
Okay.
So agree ako dyan.
Yeah. There's also this side of technologists na parang ang sabi nila, it's easy to say na, okay, we want this kind of tech transfer. But being able, for the Philippines to be able, that's a kind of tech transfer, it's also gonna take years of, providing the proper education for the people to understand what this technology is. It's not as simple as this big American company just giving away their basically intellectual properties, right? So I suppose what I'm trying to get at is if we're gonna make this work, at the very least, these American companies must come in to assist us
Teach us
for us to develop our own intellectual properties within that sphere of technology and technology building and specifically AI.
Correct. That's what I said nga, skills rin. Kailangan, we should be given also the skills about this AI technology. So hindi lang pwedeng tech transfer giving us the technology, kayo na bahala dyan. No? Hindi pwede yon. They have to teach us about the technology and not just teach us how to use it, but teach us how to develop future AI technology.
Yeah, to create more, di ba? Parang it's parang the thing kasi when you hear lang kasi tech transfer, di ba? Parang binigay lang.
Binigay lang, yeah. Hindi
Diba?
dapat. Oh.
Parang wala namang kumpanya na or kahit inventor, sa inyo na to.
Yeah.
Parang ganon. So parang mas sustainable dyan. Yun nga, yung parang yung tuturuan mo.
Correct.
Ito yung technology, so ito yung pwede nyo pang magawa dyan.
Correct.
Create your own intellectual properties that you guys hold.
Yep.
Okay, so this is an AMA. So parang tignan natin yung mga questions from our readers, or kung di man questions, they also have their thoughts on this. But let's start with the shortest.
Shortest.
Para kanino ang AI hub? This is from FC Herney. Yun.
Para kanino? Okay. Well, if you look at it on the point of view of the Filipinos, we have benefits sa AI hub. No? Meron tayong benefits. So, the Filipinos will definitely have some benefits here. Now, a lot of people are saying yung mga jobs hindi guaranteed, no? But I'm saying, it will come there. Maybe not immediately, maybe hindi kaagad because, gagawin pa yung mga factories, gagawin pa yung mga hubs na yan, but it will definitely follow yung mga jobs. So, the Filipinos will definitely benefit for this. But if they are asking if the US will also benefit from this, definitely magbe-benefit rin we cannot deny na magbe-benefit rin yung mga banyaga dito. But that doesn't mean we are giving up our sovereignty. Hindi naman ibig sabihin that we are developing something that benefits other nationalities. It doesn't mean we give up our sovereignty as well. Ibig lang sabihin noon that the benefits go through a lot of people. Hindi lang sa mga Filipino, and yes, the Americans will also benefit from this definitely.
Yeah. As a partner, yun, parang talagang meron naman din nga silang makukuha. But for sure, we do not want to get the short end of
course,
the stick, which is something that has happened in the past, which is something that we really want to prevent now. Right? So what is your answer to para kanino ang AI hub?
I think very short but very deep question, you
Yeah.
you really have to untangle it. So when we think about para kanino ba ang AI, paano kanino ba itong mga AI hubs na gusto nilang itayo, we have to go back. Ano ba ang National Industrial Plan ng Pilipinas? Bakit ba natin kailangan ng AI? Why are we pursuing this in the first place? Kasi, like Attorney mentioned a while ago, when we want that tech transfer, kaakibat niyan yung education that you will have to build and cultivate for years. And it's not an easy task. You really have to invest a lot of resources and time into it. So, when the Philippines has a clear national industrialization plan, that's when we start to figure out ano ba yung mga key points na kailangan nating pagtuunan ng pansin sa ating ekonomiya. Isa na dyan, yung genuine agrarian development. Kailangan natin ng secure na agricultural sector. Pati na, then that also comes with food security, diba? And if we could use AI for food security, for agrarian development, sure, why not? But you really have to stick to the foundations of it first. Because as it stands, the Philippines is not currently following this industrialization plan. That's why we have these large investments. We think that we should just jump into the bandwagon of this AI hype na this will boost our economy, when really we should be giving more attention, giving more to the foundations of our economy. And I think with the jobs, ayun din, ang dami ng figures na binigay ng BCDA from about 100,000 jobs to even 500,000 to 1 million jobs in Pax Silica. Madami yan. We have the direct jobs, so yun talaga yung mga tech experts that will be working on the field. We also have the indirect jobs that could come from like construction work, other adjacent jobs. Tsaka pati na rin yung mga induced jobs. For example, yung mga kailangang stalls around. You know, you buy food somewhere, perhaps a canteen. There will be jobs, no matter what. Yeah. But we really have to also poke around and really ask, what is the quality of these jobs? What kind of jobs are we giving our Filipinos, and for whose economy are those jobs?
And once again, we want to go up the value chain, right?
Yes.
Yep.
And get the Okay. Yeah, since we are talking about jobs, I would love to hear your take on Pax Silica and jobs and its promise of jobs.
Okay, yeah. So this is one of the issues here, and yun nga, there are nakita ko merong mga hesitancy because nga there is no concrete number. The government cannot give a concrete number of how many jobs will be given. So for me, it's very early to determine this, no? Because nga we are still in the process of finalizing the details of Pax Silica. However, I truly believe that no matter what you do, jobs will follow.
Yeah.
Jobs will follow. Even if it's not now, even if not tomorrow, it will actually follow. So whether or not it will produce jobs, yes, it will definitely produce jobs. Ang sabi ko nga in fact, magtayo ka lang ng factory sa isang community, definitely magkakaroon ng trabaho dyan
Yeah.
Ito pa, ganyan kalaki. So jobs will follow. How many jobs, what kind of jobs? Yes, we do not know this yet. Kasi nga, wala pa ang details ng final details ng Pax Silica.
I mean, something as big as data centers, right?
Correct.
Just a few days ago, I heard from Joshua Bincango, the president of BCDA, that there will be no more data centers. And that just shows you that, everything is kind of still up in the air
Yep.
for him to be able to walk back that statement. Because
Correct.
it was such a big element of
Yes.
what this AI hub was in our minds, at least, right? Hence the concerns with regards to the water use and the electricity use, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, let's go back to another set of questions from our readers. So this is from Ryle MC. He actually listed down a few questions. So maybe let's see your takes in who ultimately owns and controls the facilities. You were talking about this being a step-by-step discussion.
Yeah.
So if you can
Yeah.
discuss it that
Okay.
way, like
Okay.
let's go through these items. What to your mind, what would be favorable to us?
Okay, well.
And would be acceptable to our other
Okay.
side here.
The basic rule in our constitution is that non-Filipinos cannot own land. So, malinaw tayo dyan. You cannot give this land to the Americans or to any foreigners. You cannot give this land. So, definitely, the land will be owned by Filipinos. Now, the other concern here, definitely there's going to be a lease. If the foreign companies will come in and they can lease it, yes, they can do that. Now, one other concern that I saw is that because a few years back, there was an amendment of the law that the foreigners can now lease up to 99 years.
Oh yeah, I was gonna ask about that
Yeah,
because 99 sounds so big in my head, right? Like,
Laki, 99
that's past my
years.
lifetime. That's past our lifetimes, right?
So can they do that? Yes, they can do that.
Okay.
They can lease the property for 99 years. But you have to remember, this is a lease. And lease can have conditions. So we can implement our conditions there sa lease na yan. No? So the question is, who will own the land? Definitely tayo mag-own yan. Hindi natin pwedeng ibigay sa mga banyaga yan. Dahil bawal yan sa Constitution, bawal talaga. Now, whether to lease it, how long to lease it or not, hindi pa natin alam. But technically, they can lease it up to 99 years to the foreigners. Pwede nila gawin yon. Now, if that happens, will it have conditions? Yes, it has to have conditions. We don't know yet what these conditions are, but for me, kailangan talaga may conditions. Now, I think one of the demands of US here is that we give up kumbaga, we will treat it as an embassy. The land,
law and
the land will be under American law. Anything who goes there, saka mga US bases ganyan dati, di ba? Pag pumasok ka sa land nila, laws na ng US. Now, I'm opposed to that. Dapat hindi ganon because in that we will be giving up our sovereignty in this portion of land, which is napakalaki talaga, di ba?
Yeah.
So, I think hindi dapat gawin yon. No, and this is one of the demands of the US. I don't know what the government stand on this, but for me, they should not give away our sovereignty with respect to the land.
For certain, that is something we have to keep
Keep an eye on, yes.
right?
Oo. Kasi if we give that to the US, pagpasok natin doon, we will be subject to the laws of the US. In fact, if we commit a crime there, doon ka makukulong.
US law yung
US laws yun. Oo.
And we have had like a checkered history with regards to
And also immunity,
something like that.
immunity pa yan. There's going to be immunity ng mga diplomatic community. That one, we cannot take away because again, this is treaty, this is international law. So there are certain people here who will come in as diplomats. May immunity sila from laws. How many people this are, we don't know. No, so hindi natin sila pwedeng i-prosecute sa labas ng under Philippine laws. This is something we cannot take away. Diplomatic immunity.
All right, I understand. Okay, Luisa, on this issue of this fear of Americans taking over this part of our, not insignificant, not insignificantly sized part of Tarlac.
I think it's also the question that a lot of Filipinos have been asking. Sino ba talaga yung behind all of this? Who will own these facilities? Who are the investors that are coming to us? And it's in this discussion that we really start to see how speculative and how unpolished the whole Pax Silica in the Philippines really is. Because in order for us to know sino ba yung magi-invest dito, you don't only look at the companies, you also look at their financiers, and you also look at the country that's behind it. And mahirap siya in the case of the Philippines kasi with our history of 100% owned foreign investments, lahat ng kinikita or lahat at least ng nade-develop ng kumpanya na yun, napupunta rin sa kanila. Nababalik lang din yun sa kanila. That's why hindi tayo nakikinabang doon. And we could go into a rabbit hole of what worked for other countries, what were the FDIs that worked for them, what were the special cases that were exceptionally went well. But really, at the end of the day, and I think this is the sort of middle ground we're really trying to find, is that hindi naman tayo anti-foreign investment. In fact, it could be a way for the Philippines to really develop. But what kinds of FDIs or foreign direct investments are we talking about? Because what we really need, or what we've seen with some cases before, is that there was never over 50% ownership doon sa mga tinatayo nilang investments. And in fact, policies favored state-owned or even domestic firms. And number two, there was a very strict screening process. And possibly the most important one is that there's that mandatory tech transfer talaga. So really that's what we have to be pushing for with the foreign investments that we get here in the Philippines. And I really like na bring up ni attorney yung issue of sovereignty. Kasi once you start to zoom out of Pax Silica, you'll see that it's just one of the pit stops in the wider Luzon economic corridor, stretching from Batangas, Manila, Clark, and even Subic. So interconnected yan. Meron yang plans all the way back to April 11, 2024. There's plans for clean energy, semiconductor, supply chain. So as early as like 2 years ago, pinaplano na tong lahat. And it's really just recently, April 16, 2026, when the Philippines signed na nagkakaroon na ng traction here in Clark. And that's when Filipinos are rightfully asking questions. Sino ba talaga yung may-ari ng mga itatayo dyan? Sino ba ang makikinabang dyan?
Yes, and as they should ask.
Yes.
So Pax Silica, it's kind of really up against history. Do you think, do you believe with everything that she said, right, with all those deals, do you believe that the Philippines really has the capacity to negotiate this to our benefit, to the benefit of the people?
Yes, oo. Dapat talaga. And I truly believe na kaya natin yan as Filipino people. We should not be bullied by these foreigners. And kailangan talaga maging vigilant tayo dito, no? I really believe that Pax Silica can work as long as nga meron talagang mga safeguards dito.
Okay. What are these safeguards?
Well, yan. Like I said before kanina, yan, technology transfer, that should be one. And like I also said regarding the territory, we should not give up our sovereignty with respect to that territory. Kailangan Philippine laws pa rin should govern the land itself or the area where Pax Silica would be given. And then education. We discussed kanina rin that hindi lang pwedeng technology transfer, kailangan ibibigyan rin ng education ang mga Filipinos, not just to use the technology, but to develop it for future.
Okay. Yes, one of the reasons why there's a tremendous pushback against Pax Silica right now is I think they have not been nearly as transparent.
I agree.
It felt like it was just suddenly here.
I agree. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think that transparency is?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. Because this will affect Filipino lives talaga. Affected tayo niyan. And like I said, this treaty will become a law So once this becomes a law, wala na tayong takas dyan, di ba?
Okay.
So,
Okay.
once this is signed as a treaty, once this becomes a law, once this is ratified by the Senate, wala tayong takas dyan. It has to be implemented already. So, before that happens, we really have to know what the Philippines is going into. Ano ba yung pinapasok natin? Di ba? And tama yung ginagawa nila that there's going to be a hearing for the Senate. That's the time that we're going to see talaga yung mga detalye na hindi na babalita sa media.
Kaya lang, yung nangyari kasi talagang hinayaan pa nilang uminit ng ganito.
Yes.
Biglang, sige mag-Senate hearing tayo ngayon. Di ba parang biglang
Dapat noon pa ginawa.
Dapat noon pa ginawa, hindi yung may announcement na lang, this November, this might be signed by when Trump comes over for a second. So it just kind of is like suddenly in your face with all of these things and with all of these fears unaddressed. Right? So what do you think about the way that BCDA has approached this? And, parang biglang nandyan na lang. Some, you can even call it as being kind of railroaded. Diba? Parang ganun yung dating. So,
siguro, isa sa mga dahilan kung bakit, ayun nga, parang nabigla tayo with this. And one of the main calls that we're really asking is transparency is because tatanungin mo talaga, para kanino ba yung plans ng Pax Silica? Saan ba makikinabang yung mga Pilipino sa semiconductor supply chain? And babalik ka talaga sa ano ba yung national industrialization plan natin? Where are we? What are we supposed to be doing? Because as it stands, it is not for the Philippines' own development. It's not for our own industrialization. Really, we at IBON believe that it's for the U.S. own economic security, which is quite interchangeably used with their military security within the context of geopolitical tensions right now, especially with China, which is why umusbong yung Pax Silica.
Yun nga. That's another big kink in the issue, that there's a really big military aspect to this. And to some Filipinos, it's gonna feel like we're being dragged into
a war?
A war? I mean, it's so scary to call it a war, but there's
parang
that fear over you. Diba? Parang, it's hard. You'd be naive if you don't see
the question here is, will China retaliate just because we entered into Pax Silica? I don't think so. I don't think that will happen. I don't think China will see us as an enemy because we are still going to trade with China as well. Hindi naman natin kakatais with China. We are not choosing America over China. We are giving America an opportunity, but we are also getting opportunities from China. So hindi naman tayo magkakat ng tayo. So I don't think China will attack us or will retaliate against us just because of this.
Okay. Would you agree with that?
I think I do see this kind of discussion and debate with a lot of matters with U.S. and Chinese plans. The thing with these very polarized stances is that why do we have to choose between U.S. or China? Why not we choose Filipino, we choose the Philippines, we choose aggressive neutrality na no, we will only be accepting investments that really support our economy, that develop us, not necessarily because we think one hegemon is bigger than the other or one is more economically stable. At the end of the day, babalik ka talaga sa Pilipinas.
And with that, we need a really solid foundational policy for industrialization. And that is something we can use to guide our negotiations with the US, right? Parang it's for us to create some sort of backbone. For parang yun.
Kasi otherwise we'll be swayed with there's 40 to 70 billion in US investments. We'll have about 500,000 to a million jobs. We'll have $200 billion in exports. It's very flashy at first, pero how does it serve us? How does it develop us, the Philippines?
Actually, that's also something that Giovanni Tapang from Agham said, that he wants the country should pursue its own industrial policy rather than simply aligning itself with Washington's strategic priorities. So I know you agree with that stance. What would you
I also agree with that. I also agree with that. at the end of the day, we should always look at our own benefits as a people, as a Filipino people. So just because the US says that it is beneficial for us, we shouldn't believe just because the US says this. No? So kailangan nga meron tayong independent na study on this, independent study of how it will benefit the Philippines.
Do you think November is too soon?
I think so. I think so.
It's just a few months.
It's just a
parang
few months.
3-ish
It's too soon,
months,
yeah.
no? Yeah.
It's too soon.
And the way it's being phrased, it sounds like just so we can appease an ally. Okay, we'll sign it because we're here at the ASEAN in November.
Well, we already declared for Pax Silica. So, meron na tayong kumbaga, we have
Verbal
one
agreement.
foot. Yeah, we have one foot in the So
we signed the declaration.
we already signed the declaration. So, with that, pwede naman nila i-delay tong details or yung signing mismo ng mga treaties. Kasi nga we already agreed that we are with you guys with here. So ano lang yung mga detail, we just have to iron it out.
Yes.
So yeah, November is too soon.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Let's talk about environment. So this is also big. This is another one of the big issues also in Pax Silica. It's the same guy, Real MC. How much land, electricity, water, and natural resources will be consumed? Okay, that's the question. But let's talk about the environmental concerns here.
I would have to say
sustainable energy.
I'm
all
not.
that.
I'm not an environmentalist. I would not have the exact details about this, about the environment. Pero seeing all the materials on Pax Silica, malaki talaga malaki ang kukuhanin sa atin with respect to energy and even with respect to water. So malaki.
Yeah.
But the details, yun nga, I'm not an environmentalist, so konti lang yung mga comment ko regarding the environment. Yeah.
Yeah. But any kind of industrialization will have its own requirements
Of
for
course.
power.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah.
So, whatever form this comes in, parang talagang malaki.
And remember, 1,600 hectares. So, ang laki talaga niya.
Yeah.
So, malaki talaga ang kukunin nito with respect to the power. Now, with respect to the environment, will it destroy the environment? I actually cannot answer that question.
The claimed power requirement for this is 3 gigawatts.
Yeah.
That's and currently they have the most sustainable power plant they're building is the solar farm, which is 500 megawatts, which is still far away from 3 gigawatts. There's a planned 1.2 gigawatt liquefied natural gas, but that's a fossil fuel. Basically, it's not the greenest. So what's your on this?
Very loaded question. So 3 points. Land, yung water, tsaka yung energy. With respect to land, ayun, sinabi ng BCDA na matagal na namang converted, matagal na namang developed yung New Clark City. So, wala nang madidisplace, wala nang ma-affect na tao or community in that area. But just recently, nagkaroon or many voices chimed in from farmers to even indigenous people in different press conferences saying na, hey, actually, nandito pa rin kami.
Yeah.
There's roughly around 3,000 IP families that will be affected. And even, and the reality is that the whole Central Luzon will be affected by Pax Silica. And ang sinasabi ng mga IP na to is that they are still there and they've only been given up until December to stay. So essentially after that, pinapalayas na sila sa sarili nilang land. On the side of farmers naman, nagkaroon din ng parang interview with farmers where it was revealed na parang they were only being offered 30 pesos per square meter of land. Could you imagine, ano bang mabibili nyong meal with 30 pesos? In today's economy, halos wala. Diba? That could also be around 300,000 pesos per hectare. At may isang farmer, in fact, na nagsabi na yung 2 hektarya niya, 600,000 pesos, hindi pa nga yun enough to send his child to college. Diba? Tapos, ito namang water na makukonsumo, there is foreign data that says na Amazon's data centers used over 2.5 billion gallons of water in just 1 year. Quite unimaginable, diba? And the demands of Pax Silica, nagkaroon ng initial estimate of around 20 20 million liters a day, which was then adjusted to 85 to 120 million liters per day na. At ang sabi ng BCDA, from rainwater harvesting, gagawin na lang yung surface water harvesting. But really, in reality, kakailanganin ng mga data centers or even possibly other projects in Pax Silica, yung ultra-pure water na hindi kaya just by rainwater or surface water harvesting. And for farmers, 73.7% of Central Luzon's irrigable lands are irrigated. So madami pang kulang. And yung rainwater pa nga lang, hindi na enough for farmers. Sa Pax Silica pa kaya. And siguro last na on that really big question.
I bunch it up all in.
Yung energy.
Environmental.
Yung energy, napakalaki niyang issue, 'di ba? As you've said, 3 gigawatts most likely yung kakailanganin. Yun yung estimate for now.
Yeah.
But in the Philippines, only 94.8% of the whole population has access to electricity.
Yeah.
This is 2024 data from the World Bank. So, marami pang kulang. And recently, nag-pledge din yung Ayala or yung ASEN to power itong Pax Silica or to at least help with the power or the plans to power Pax Silica. So, you really start to think, kaya pala natin. Kaya nating bigyan ng energy, bigyan ng kuryente yung mga Pilipino. How come we're doing it for such a big corporatized project as Pax Silica, but not simply for the welfare and well-being of Filipinos?
There lies the Philippines PR problem.
Yeah.
And adding to that, electricity prices and the news of El Nino.
Yeah. Diba, ang dami nating crisis na kinakaharap ngayon. From the global crisis on oil to even our own natural disasters here.
And then we're kind of tacking on this big project while we're dealing with all these utility problems.
Yeah.
So, it all adds up. I would like to ask you about the indigenous peoples and the farmers. Like, what would they have to do to have like a louder voice as far as legality?
Well, they have representatives in the government. There are government agencies that actually ang mandate nila is to be a voice to the indigenous people. I forgot what it's called, but one of my friends was led that organization at the time. So they have representatives, so their voice should be heard. And in fact, we are hearing them right now, yung voice ng mga indigenous people. Now, whether or not the government will listen, that's another thing. So I think that is one of the concerns na kailangan talaga maharap rin ng government. And that's a very good thing na yun nga, lumalabas yung mga issue to para makita natin yung mga voice ng mga indigenous people.
And when I heard about these farmers and indigenous peoples, parang, again, what it told me was, this thing is being rushed. Parang ganun naman. Parang they're saying na they're all taken care of, but now you hear these people, meron palang so it's really it has become a big issue in the discussion. Okay, we're going down to our last few questions. If you had to identify one condition that the Philippine government must demand before committing further to Pax Silica, what would it be?
One, ang hirap niya na. Pero one lang. Pwede ba tumawag ng two?
Sige. Let's go. I shall concede.
Well, yun nga, yung technology transfer and education. Yun ang sa akin, yun ang pinaka-major. Because this will actually shift the issue with regards to the benefits of the Filipino people. Pag meron tayong, there are still a lot of issues that are coming in, but pag meron na tayong technology transfer, that's the main thing about Pax Silica, technology yan di ba? Yeah. It's AI technology. That's the very reason one of the main reasons that we are going into this treaty or into this endeavor is because we see that AI is the future and we want a piece of that. The Philippines wants a piece of that future sa AI. So technology transfer, but yun nga, we have discussed kanina na pag meron technology transfer, wala yun kung wala education if it's just given to us and we are allowed to use it, wala yun. If we don't know how to use it, but more importantly, how to develop it. How to develop, because ang pinakamagandang mangyari nito that in about a few years, magiging competitive ang Filipinos sa AI market. So yun ang gusto nating mangyari.
Okay, yeah, I get your concern that there's also this big chance for us for this to pay off for us, like in terms of financially, economically. Okay. So Luisa, your take on that.
Hirap. One condition.
Ako tumawad na.
Ako tumawad ng dalawa. Okay. Pero iba naman yung approach ko.
Yeah.
With Pax Silica, hindi lang kasi siya condition. It has to be the fundamental. We don't go externally agad-agad. We have to focus on the fundamentals here in the Philippines. So what I've been echoing this entire time, pinaka-importante talaga na magkaroon tayo ng sarili nating national industrialization plan.
Okay.
How do we want to move forward? And how does this look? Well, number one, genuine agrarian reform. We get our own food security. And I suppose most, or yung pinaka magre-resonate with a lot of Filipinos is quality and dignified jobs for Filipinos that are secure. We don't have to go elsewhere to get that. Okay. We build here, we build and use our own materials and our own labor. And with regards to investments, foreign investments naman, yun nga, the condition that we really need to demand for ourselves, like Attorney has said, is yun nga, tech transfers. Yeah. We really have to look at ano ba yung kailangan natin sa performance requirements. Kasi dun mo talaga matitrace back, ano ba yung i-offer, ano ba yung ibibigay talaga sa'yo ng investments na to. Will it really develop our own domestic firms? Will it really support state-owned facilities? Will it really help boost and develop our economy? Is it really for Filipino?
Okay. So, you believe that there might be a chance for this to work? We are not completely against this.
Kasi hindi naman parang black and white na hindi no to foreign investments ang Philippines dapat. Should there be any foreign investments, it should be for the interest of Filipinos and their welfare and their well-being. Hindi lang yung basta-bastang corporate profits for another foreign industry.
What would be your current advice to the BCDA right now or the Philippine government in terms of how they are trying to package and sell this to the Filipino people and basically how they're running it right now? Ano advice mo?
Siguro not just BCDA but for Filipinos as a whole. Listen to fellow Filipinos. Kasi ano ba yung kailangan ng mga magsasaka natin? Ano ba yung mga kailangan ng mga manggagawa natin? What are the needs? What will help, what will be the foundations of our economy?
Okay.
Once we listen to these voices, yung mga farmers, mga workers natin, mga IP natin, we really start to realize, ito pala yung kapasidad ng Pilipinas. We can do this, we can do that with what we have. So why not we focus our efforts here instead of simply chasing attractive foreign investments that are not really in the interest of the Filipinos?
Okay. Attorney Carlo, do you have final thoughts?
Yeah, my advice on how they are approaching this or how they should approach this, I think it should be transparency. Transparency talaga. What's happening now? Nasa na ba tayo? What are we considering? What are the conditions that are being demanded, and what is our stand on that? Kailangan malaman natin yon. And of course, everyone has their own opinions on how this should be implemented or how we should go into this. Pero the main thing na before we can actually make our own opinions, kailangan malaman muna natin nasa na ba tayo. No? So my advice is we should always be transparent.
Okay. Yeah, that's actually one of the big problems that this thing is going. Okay. Any last words? Any final words?
Last words.
No?
Famous last words.
Famous last words.
Well, the Pax Silica is an issue that concerns everybody. Pero my stand on this is that we should always decide this matter in relation to how we can actually benefit as a nation, as a Filipino people. So doon dapat talaga yung focus natin. Whether or not it will benefit America, whether or not it will be against China, I think that will be secondary issues. Ang main issue talaga natin here is dapat, how will the Filipinos benefit from this?
All right. Luisa?
Completely agree. Or agree na, yun nga, at the heart of our plans, our economic planning, Filipinos talaga, and the interest of Filipinos. Madaling ma-attract doon sa malalaking values, these high value chain jobs and tech transfers. But really, what we have to do is listen. Sino ba yung mga talagang apektadong communities? How will they be affected? Ano ba yung benefits sa atin? And we have to, in the discussion of US versus China, why not the Philippines? Diba? We pick ourselves, we pick aggressive neutrality because at the end of the day, it is our own economy, it is our own resources, our own labor, and that should be used for the Philippines, not other hegemons.
Okay. Thank you very much, Luisa and Attorney Carlo. That wraps up our Ask Me Anything on Pax Silica. Thank you to Carlo Ybanez and Luisa Gabriela for joining us. And thank you to everyone who sent in questions. The conversation doesn't have to end here. You can keep chatting, sharing your thoughts, and asking questions on the Rappler app in the Everyday Tech channel. I'm Gelo Gonzales. Thanks for joining us.